Good evening, YouTube. I am coming on here so late, and I know it. It is extremely late for a live, and this is the time that I have. Um, I don't mind coming on this late, to be honest with you, only because, excuse me, I have to listen to my body when it feels like doing anything it feels like doing. So I am also going through healing constantly. I am constantly healing all the time. And lucky everybody, people get to witness me healing. People get to witness me going through that process, which is, it's chaotic. Healing is chaotic. I actually don't have anything planned for today. I have nothing specific to say. So, there's no message other than I just felt the need to have a conversation about healing. Healing is a chaotic affair. I am going through chaos emotionally. The reason that healing is so unappealing a lot of the time is because the feelings that you've been bottling in, the feelings you've been holding in, while you've been persevering and just trying to get through as best you can, those feelings are the ones that you have to purge and release in order to heal yourself. And those are not fun feelings. Those feelings are so not fun that were you to experience them while you were going through your trauma, they would probably have you come undone. You would probably fall apart. It would be harder to get through what you were going through at the time that was so traumatic that it took all of your strength and all of your energy to focus on it. So, after a very traumatic, chaotic situation, and again, I've always said that this situation, you cannot wait for it to be completely done for you to start healing. You need to start now. It's tough, so the feelings come out. And as the feelings are coming out, they're purging themselves. But it's not fun to feel it. So doesn't matter what emotion it is, if it's anger, if it's sadness, if it's insecurity, if you're feeling dejected, whatever it is, if you're feeling insecure, if you're feeling unloved, if you're feeling regret, if you're feeling guilt, all of this stuff is, if you're feeling shame, like all of these are very heavy emotions to go through. And when you have to let them come up, you have to let them bubble up. If they don't come up in an organic way where you do it with yourself, when they come up later on with other people, they are going to be they're going to come up one way or the other. You're going to try to hide it. You're going to try to stuff it down. You're going to try to put things on it. You're going to try to put buy things to put over it so it looks pretty. You're going to try to get into relationships to cover it up. You're going to try to do all this stuff, and it's not gonna work, or not gonna work for very long. So you legit have to just go through the cycle and heal it. And healing some things take longer than other things. So I'm going through that. I'm going through that right now, actually. Hold on, something just caught my eye. What is this book? Since I have been taking time to myself, I have had a moment to, while being responsible, of course, but I've had a moment to get back into some of the things that I have always loved, reading being one of them. So I've gotten back into books, and I've been taking time to learn up on things that I want to learn. I love learning new things, to be honest with you. So I'm really happy that I've gotten this opportunity to do that. A chance for self-care physically. When I was working all the time, I did not have time. I did not prioritize or put a lot of value on how I looked, because like I just throw on like a tracksuit and my hair is like this anyway, and I don't like makeup, so it's not like I had like a lot to do. But still, oh my god, I like this. I never looked at this book before. Anyway, so when I get triggered and I get upset, I cannot stay in that mood, in that vibration. It feels so unnatural to me. It is not natural to me. It is not my natural way of being. I don't like it. And so I have to then take time to myself. I don't mind being vulnerable about what I'm going through, because I think it just helps other people. Like, it helps people understand that you're human. I think we like romanticize this idea of like you have to be good all the time, or you have to always like, no, everybody goes through stuff. It's completely normal. That's the point of you being here, actually. So I'm going to talk a little bit about getting through difficult emotions, one, and getting through sort of like spiritually healing yourself. So I'm gonna kind of pose it in the context of, I'll say maybe the feelings that I'm feeling, because my healing is spiritual and it's emotional, mostly emotional. So in the context of emotional healing, so people who, now this is one thing I've noticed, that I don't get a lot of returning people watching my videos. I get a lot of new people watching my videos, and I guess that's because I do lives, and that's the purpose of a live. But if somebody were to watch my videos like every single day, let's say, because I post every day. If you were to watch my videos every day, some days I'm in a very calm disposition like I am today. And then other days I am very upset. Other days I'm very excited. Other days I'm very like motivated and intense. And so sometimes it's in a response to kind of stimuli in my environment, like whatever's going on. If I'm receiving antagonistic energy from other people, then I'll behave in one way. But sometimes it's honestly just in response to me purging, in response to me looking at all the traumatic things that I've had to navigate. And in survival mode, you don't have the opportunity to process what you're feeling. You just know that there are very urgent things that need your attention. And especially if you know that you're not going to allow yourself to break down, you're not going to allow yourself to feel anything that would put your foundation at risk, that would put your mind at risk. And for me, when I go through difficult situations, I have to be alone. I have to navigate it by myself, because I need to really get quiet and really focus on the things that are important. I need to prioritize myself, prioritize my mind, stay afloat. So, I'm not a person who seeks help, not because, and people will try to make that seem like a bad thing, like you should have help and force it down your throat. But, you know, I look at life as lessons, and everything that I navigate is a lesson for me. And I always look for a process. I don't like to just get through something one time, because if the problem were to arise again, and I know that it will, when the problem arises again, I would like to implement a process right away. So I do have an analytical way of thinking where it is very process driven. And that's really for everything. So if I'm going through a difficult time, I'm going to almost start like, it's like my mind needs to understand the problem from every single possible angle. So I do tend to study things a lot. And mostly it's like sometimes you just intuitively can get like a lot from a situation just by encountering it. And, then when it comes time to heal from the situation, assuming it's a traumatic situation. So, say for example, it doesn't have to be traumatic, it could be whatever. Like, say for example, I'm experiencing behavior I don't like. I'm gonna analyze that behavior. I'm gonna register it as not liking it and not wanting to deal with it and deciding that I'm not gonna deal with it. And then I'm gonna think about like at what cost. And usually it doesn't matter at what cost because my peace is my priority. That's paramount. So I'm gonna always choose peace. So any environment that is naturally like there's gaslighting or chaos or people who are unkind to each other, I'm just naturally never going to be there. So love bombing is like literally like a waste of time with me because it's not gonna last. And the first instance where I experience something I don't like, I decide that I don't have to deal with it and I just don't. Now, that is very important because very often people just sit in situations that are just not meant for them. If it doesn't make you feel good, then you gotta go. And the only reason you need is that it doesn't make you feel good. You have to take a hold of your personal vibration because this is the place from which you heal, from which you manifest, from which you grow, from which you learn lessons. It's always in calm and in peaceful environments. That's where you create. Once it becomes chaotic and it becomes emotionally triggering, then, and especially when it's a whole environment that's emotionally triggering, it's a whole environment that's chaotic, not even just one person. It's a whole community, it's a whole place, it's a whole school, it's a whole institution, it's a whole job. Then now this has the possibility to impact you negatively. Not the possibility, it is assured that it will impact you negatively. And as it has a negative impact on you, you begin to change. The way you react to it to avoid it begins to change in a few predictable ways. There's a couple different ways you're going to respond to it. And it then over time, it changes who you are inside. It wounds you. And the longer you stay in it, the more capacity it has to continue wounding you over and over until the person that you are changes. So you have to be very careful because all change occurs in the same way, and this is important to understand. All change happens first in your mind, happens first spiritually with a desire for change. Your heart yearns for the change. It happens in your heart, not your mind. Your heart yearns for the change, so almost like you're sending it up. Then you're going to start to think about it, like, how am I going to make this change? How am I going to turn things around for myself? And then you have to start implementing it. In your mind is where the discipline has to be decided. In your mind and your heart, that's where the results are going to be decided. You're going to want it. You're going to have to be able to visualize it, because sometimes you might want something and you just can't see it for yourself, and it might make you give up on it. So you have to visualize it first. You have to visualize the change that you want to happen. And once you're past that stage and you've built up the discipline and you've promised yourself you're going to keep going and you want it bad enough, you are going to have to start implementing the change. When you're in a difficult situation, or a difficult environment, which is even worse, meaning that it's all around you, From that place is already conditioned with how you respond. People, places, and things have already began building systems around the way that you respond. So when you start responding differently, it disarms them, it disables them, it shocks them. They are not sure where to place you. How permanent is this change, this new adaptation that you've made, this evolution that you've made? How serious is it? So their response at first, because it's so troubling to them, is they're going to challenge you. They're going to challenge your decision to change. And so you have to decide, you have to brace yourself when you're making changes in your life to your environment. Brace yourself that the people, places, and things around you are going to respond in a negative way. They're going to be shocked. After they get over their shock and they start challenging you, trying to pull you back to a place where you are familiar, not because just because they want you to be the same, because they want to feel comfortable. Your change has created discomfort in them. They would like to remain in a place of comfort and control. They like to control what's going on. They like to control, they like to know that if they push your buttons, you're going to react this way. You might not be upset, but if you are upset, you're not going to leave. If you do leave, you're going to come back. They like to feel comfortable. So the first time they push your buttons and you don't come back, they fly into a panic. It sends them into a spiral. They were unprepared for that. So as they continue to come back, to pull you back in, this is where you remain resolute in your decision. This is where the discipline portion of it comes up. So I'll explain. I remember when Nicki Minaj came out a couple years ago, the way she used to dress was weird. She used to dress like, I don't know, like a Power Ranger or something. Like it wasn't what the hip hop, she obviously had a lot of talent, but it wasn't what the industry expected of her. They wanted her to be a typical rapper who was like, a female rapper who's half naked and all that stuff. And she wanted to talk about like female empowerment, getting an education and things like that. And the industry didn't like it. And I remember she kept doing it over and over and over and over again for more than one album, until people began to just accept her as she was. She was like, no, this is who I am. And if you don't like it, I am prepared to not have you around, because you are not more important than how I feel about myself. You are not more important than my inner peace. You are not more important than me enjoying a good quality of life. I will waste an entire lifetime trying to make you happy, and you don't make me happy. So I understood why she was doing that. I understand why, when even if she wore something tight or sexy, she'd still be all the way covered up. She wouldn't have like her skin showing. I understood why she was doing it. And she's a very educated girl as well. And she used to say things like, people forget that music is a business. They know the music part, but they forget the business part, which is about making a living. And so that's why she's one of the most highly paid rappers, but at the same time, they always try to take from her. They couldn't wait for other people to come to try to elevate those people in her place. Nobody could compare to her. So she had her throne regardless, but they wanted other people to come and take her place. And as soon as they got someone remotely, whatever, like comparable, they threw her to the side. But they can't. They would never talk about her awards. They would never talk about, her accomplishments. She's way more wealthy than you would think. And so I feel like artists and people like Nicki Minaj are like people like us who have to live outside of the system, the matrix. When you're in the matrix, they promote their own people. They give their own people all the prizes and all the awards that they don't deserve, because they bribe and they buy their way through. And the real stars, the real geniuses who are smart enough to not allow someone to own them, decide, I'm going to take a pay cut and I'm going to take the stairs, which is the longer way, instead of taking the elevator with these people and having them control me. Because what you start realizing is the same way that they built you up, they always put little systems in place to tear you back down. So they push a button and you go up, they also push a button and take you down. People who take the stairs are physically fit. In fact, when you only taking the stairs and you got to meet a deadline, you got to run up flights of stairs. You might have to run up with boxes, run up with bags. You have to adapt to a different way of living. You're more flexible. You wake up earlier. You have to have processes in place. You have more solid people around you because you need people that are also willing to climb stairs. You have a different quality of people around you. They're usually more loyal. They're more genuine. They're more solid. People who are willing to run upstairs carrying boxes and bags with you are solid people. These are people that are willing to sweat. These are people that are willing to, have some personal sacrifice. These are people that are willing to run through things with you, run through life with you, where it's not always going to be pleasant, and they know that. They know that they're building their path because the pre-beaten path is not for us. So when you're in situations like that, when your whole environment is toxic and you have to leave, these are the things that you have to have in mind. Once you leave the matrix, you leave the matrix. Life outside is different. Got to generate our own electricity. We got to dig our own wells. We got to, have our own cities and do our own things, but there's happiness there. There's control there. There's nobody beating things out of your hands when you don't fall in line. So that is the value of doing things that way. And to be honest with you, the beautiful part of it is whatever you build, at whatever level you're building it, people cannot knock it out your hands because they didn't put it in your hands. So in my gang stalking journey, whatever was knocked out of my hands was only what people had any kind of financial influence in. What I had prior to, what was mine, what I built on my own, no one can touch, no one can influence. This is on an energetic level, and this goes with everything else in life. So if you are pulling away from toxic environments and pulling away from difficult chapters of your life, it could be family. It could be people that are just used to you behaving a certain way. It could be friend groups. It could be people you grew up with, whatever the case is. Once you're in an environment that, you realize that you have evolved from, they're going to panic. They're going to keep pulling at you. They're going to guilt you. They're going to try to bring up memories of the past. They're going to bring up things that you guys went through together, things that should have bonded you, etc. The caveat with that is your brain might say, well, maybe the new me can exist in the old world, or maybe I can bring it with me, and that is not the way evolution works. It'll just be smacked out of your hand anyway. They're going to be pulled away from you anyway. The path you have to walk is the path you have to walk. And so while you might be trying to stay in that path, your spirit guides are working night and day to destroy those relationships for you, no matter what you want to do. They're going to find a way as you try to walk some type of middle path between your past and your future. They're going to continue making sure that they cause friction, that they cause blockages, that they cause commotion in those same relationships until it's done. Until it's done. That way of doing it, I think, is the hard way. That is the hard way of doing it. I think there's an easier way of doing it. I do things now in my life the easy way, and the easy way is just to recognize that this is not for me, decide that it's time to leave, because the universe does give you time to make the decision. It does. I make the decision because the decision has already been made for me if it's in my face. So now I don't even look at it as a decision. I think it's like an illusion of a decision. I accept it. It's time to move away from it. It's time to heal from it. It's time to change. And then I walk the path that is in front of me. And whatever it is that I have to leave behind in order to accept what's coming is what I have to leave behind. Every time I've had to make one of these evolutions in my life, so graduating from working these kinds of jobs to working these types of positions, and then graduating from that to having a business, and then doing that and doing that, as the phases of life continue to change, I have just, even though it's scary to walk away from and you're not sure how you're going to survive like outside of what you knew, as you take the step forward, it's like life already had it figured out for you. You're just walking through it. It's just presenting the opportunities, it's presenting the solutions, it's presenting issues that are going to make you confront things and then make you go find a solution. So as you're walking through it, the path builds itself. And you just have to be open to looking at the challenges that arise as something that's pushing you in the right direction. You have to be patient with your process, because as long as you're walking the path that you're supposed to walk, you are protected on that path. Things do not go right when you keep avoiding the obvious, when you keep digging your head in the sand, when you're not ready to release the past. That is when you're going to be in constant turmoil and chaos. Been there, done that, not even worth the headache. As a matter of fact, that's what I'm afraid of. These are the kind of things that I truly fear. Not having my freedom, being in toxic environments, not having my freedom again, um, being stuck in a loop that has no change and has no growth, and that's an illusion. Again, not having my freedom. Freedom is like a priority. Freedom and peace are at the top of my list of the two things that I need in life. If I do not have those things, then I am not willing to even live. I will stubbornly like just not want to live. I'm not doing it. I need my freedom. So any environment that takes away my freedom, takes away my right to truth and living my truth and living my way and being my own person, anything that takes away my peace is completely unwelcomed, immediately shut down, immediately locked out, just cannot exist in my orbit at all. This is very important. So when you get kind of to the middle of your journey, you've continued going, all of a sudden you look up and you're doing it. You're living in your future. You look up and you're already there. You're in your new cycle. You're finding out how to do all the things that you need to do. Say you're leaving like a place where you had a job and now you're in a business. You figured out how to market yourself. You figured out where you go to get particular like supplies. You figure out the good suppliers. You figure out, what works and what doesn't work, where you're wasting money, where you can cut back, where you can be more lean, where you can, put more money. Things just continue to like evolve. And before you know it, you're there. I like applying that same sort of mentality and strategy to walking away from gang stalking. I choose to walk away from gang stalking, not because gang stalkers are in agreement with me walking away, but because I do not enjoy this cycle. I do not enjoy this chaos. So I have to make the decision that I need to go. And so if you examine the kind of things that are occurring, that and everything in the right time, like you are gonna know instinctively like when is the right time for things to happen, when you can pull out, what you can do. But I had to look at closing doors, and I was closing one door of access after another door of access after another door of access, and I talk all about that in my other videos. I have a playlist on my page called Informational Resource where you can check that out. And that will give you sort of insight into like how you close doors of people's access to you. But the biggest access that they have is every time you go outside. And if I have a job that requires me to be outside for 12 hours a day, well, I'm under abuse and attack for 12 hours a day. I'm under attack more than I'm at rest, and that is not okay. So that has to change. People contacting me, like I turn off my phone every weekend. Like it's off. I don't want to hear from anyone. I don't care. I don't care about the outside world. I want my peace. The only reason it's on in the weekdays because obviously, someone, it might be something important, but even then, after a certain hour, I'm like, oh, I'm done with this. Like, I need my time. And in that time, and I don't think I'll ever go back, to be honest, because I really like this. But in that time that you're healing and you're taking time out to yourself and you're not engaging people as much, the healing is also a safe space now for you to deal with the traumas that you faced with cycles closing. I want to get to a point where cycles opening and closing are not going to be rough and chaotic anymore. Unfortunately, that's not how we learn. And so that's probably going to continue to happen. But probably now what I learn is how not to allow the chaos of what's happening around me to enter my mind, to enter my psyche, to enter my spirit, to enter my aura. I've learned how to go through things that are chaotic and cultivate a space, for myself and my family that is still peaceful. So as to combat all of the negative energy that's coming towards me. That's what I mean by process-based healing is now that I've gone through this, it's not just something I'm going to look back at and say, oh my God, let me tell you the story of this horrible thing I went through called gang stalking. But now I can look at it from a standpoint of what are these 147 lessons that I've had to learn? And now I've started implementing all of these things into my day-to-day life, and just making it a part of like who I am. I think that's the whole point of going through something is just like just incorporating all of those things into my day to day. Like, you were not taking care of yourself. That's a priority. You should do that if you want to have some peace. You were not tending to yourself emotionally and putting yourself first. You were not blah, 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 blah. And if you have a situation where somebody is overstepping their boundaries, if you have a situation where someone does not respect your personal space, if you have a situation where someone is violating you, well, here's how we go down, this 10-step process of how we're going to deal with that issue so as to not let it disrupt our foundation, so as not to let it disrupt our life, disrupt our peace. And this is what I've done. So in order to break out of this, I had to end it. It was never going to just end on its own. I had to look at, well, what happens every time I'm doing something and something happens that's chaotic? A call comes in, an email comes in, a text message comes in. There's some sort of disruptive thought. There's some sort of, I get sleepy, I get angry, I get irritated. These are all distractions, and they all are strategically occurring when I am doing something to improve myself or gain my independence and leave. That is when that happens. So now, how do I move on? I make sure that I ignore distractions. They are unimportant. No matter how important they may truly be, I need to get through the task that I'm doing right now, because the chances are if I get up and I get distracted, by the time I come back and I sit down again to look at my work, either I've lost my momentum, I've lost my train of thought, I've lost the good high vibrational mood that I was in when I was trying to create the solution that I needed. So I'm just gonna sit here and have a good day. And sometimes when I work, I don't listen to things that are gonna put me in a bad mood. I listen to music that I like, something upbeat, something that's gonna make me happy. I'm very purposeful about how I eat, when I eat, what I eat. I respond to my body. I don't ignore it anymore. It's hungry, we eat. It's tired, we sleep. We take a day off, we relax. We will come back to the work. It's not gonna be the end of the world. If I don't listen to my body, for example, when you feel these like emotions, sadness and grief and shame and guilt, these feelings are heavy, so they pull a lot of energy out of your body. When you're outside and you're feeling anxiety and fear, all of these, they're pulling a lot of energy. So you need more energy. You need to regenerate your energy in order to deal with it and not feel depleted and not feel like pulled down. So for me, I know, well, now it's time for me to do, a few more meditations. Whereas I might have a routine of I tell everybody do in the morning and in the night, I'll do one in the middle of the day. I'll take my time and just make sure that I'm pacing myself through my work. Things that are going to take a little bit more time, meaning that I'm going to have to get on a call that's going to frustrate me. That is for its own day. I put it like a whole day or half a day just to that issue so I have enough time to deal with it, because I know it's going to take a while. I might have to sit on a call for a while or whatever the case is. I give it its own time and I knock out the things that are easy to knock out in that day so I feel accomplished. I feel like I checked things off my to-do list. I'm getting things done. And then the day for the thing that's going to take long, I give it its own day. And I wake up earlier and I also say, this is going to get done today, one way or the other. I'm going to find a solution. I need something concrete to happen towards it. So that helps lift, like, because when you have something that you don't want to do that's going to disrupt your peace to deal with it, that's what people want. They want to constantly put you in environments that are disrupting your peace to deal with that issue. You know, if you have to call this person, they're going to give you they're going to be a headache, they're going to give you a problem, they're going to give you a runaround. You got to take more time to deal with that. Mentally prepare for it. Go in with a very strong attitude, get out of the way early, and then you can breathe a sigh of relief for the rest of your day, like you got that thing done. One thing I notice about gang stalking, they like to overload you with problems. They like to overload you with a lot of situations that are giving you anxiety. And in my situation, it's like they create scarcity. They always have these scarcity tactics where they like to make you feel like there's a lack of resources, there's urgency, you have to go work, 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 or if you don't work, you're gonna be behind in one way. It's like you're gonna make your bills at the end of the month, but you're always gonna feel a little bit behind. You're always gonna feel like you have a little, just less than you need, and you're worried for next month and you're trying to get ahead. You cannot create in that environment. When that begins to happen, you got to put it down. This is what your body doesn't want to do. This is what your mind is panicking against. You got to put it down. You got to stop. You got to give yourself a day or two or three, and you have to assess your entire situation. Take stock of what your debts are, what you can put away, what you don't need. You have to be very cutthroat with yourself, because if you have big bills that you have to constantly furnish, it's going to be hard to build. It's going to be hard to think and to focus. That's when people can come in and offer you solutions to the problems that they've created or they're happy you have. They can come in and give you these solutions that involve, like, putting ties in you, putting you in contracts, binding you in some way to them in order to help you fix a situation. So for me, if giving an example, I had to say, well, do I really need a location? It's expensive. I don't think I want it. I had to also say things like, do I need this car? Although I love it, I love the car, but do I really need it? No, it's not a need. Well, you know what? I'm going to lighten up on that, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Don't hold on to things to your detriment. If you can really, like, your own situation. Everybody's an adult, they know their own situation, but sometimes you have to say, well, I want to not sink. I want to survive another day. And when you get to the other day, then you could think about, was that even a responsible decision to have had that in the first place at that time? You can make a better decision. In the meantime, you have to take a couple days to kind of reevaluate everything you're doing and making sure that the path you're moving in makes sense for yourself. In these kind of environments, these chaotic communities and these chaotic environments, they want you go, 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 go. 7 days a week, 6 days a week of work, no time to rest. Or early mornings, late nights, constantly trying to catch up, where's all the money going? You're not even enjoying it. You cannot relax. You can't have a good day. As soon as and I noticed this with other people, everybody that was in that community, I noticed with them that they work a lot. They're constantly going. So my biggest thing was, even gang stalking though, for gang stalking, I would notice that Sunday would be kind of like their light day. There would be light gang stalking on a Sunday. It'd still be there, but it'd be lighter. In my city anyway, it'd be lighter on Sundays. In the beginning, it got to the point that they just couldn't take their eyes off of me at all, and it didn't matter if it was a Sunday or not. But in the beginning, it was like that. But they like to keep people overworked. When you're overworked, you don't have time to look up and see the things that are going on around you because you're always working. You don't have time to look up and see patterns. You don't have time to look up and see people being fake. If you're rushing in somewhere and you're just rushing in and rushing out, you don't have time to stop and see somebody roll their eyes as you walk away. If you're walking in at a leisurely pace and you're having a slow morning, you have time to talk to people a little bit longer, and you'll notice a lot more things. It's the same thing with like, once I slow down, it's like now I can really look at like all the deficiencies that were in my business, all the things I had to catch up on, all the things I had to do better, and then I could start on them. And then I can, put things in place that can, make my life easier. And so I look at what did I like in the past and what did I not like in the past about my life. I didn't like how hard I was working. I don't mind working. I love working. I need to work, but I want to work smart. I want to still have time for myself. If I don't have time for myself physically, then what is the point of having anything? I'm never going to enjoy it fully. I want to look at peace of mind. I want to look at being in environments that I want to be in, not forcing myself to go to an environment that I hate, that I don't want to, being around people that I don't want to be around just to make a living. I got to make a living in a different way. It gives you just an opportunity to sit back and just decide, like, what do you truly want for yourself? And, like, excuse me, hate to quote, politicians, but to build back better. To build back better. I have this book that I just pulled here, and I hope this is not just gonna, like, I don't know. I hope this is appropriate, but I always talk about astrology, and I talk about the nodes. So like, your north node is your life path. It is the direction that you want to go into in life. Oh my God. Actually, there was this other live that I was gonna do. And in that live, it was talking about like, I was talking about like all your chakras and how energetically your chakras need to be aligned, and how when you're and what each chakra does, and how to know when it's misaligned. And what happens in gang stalking is every single chakra begins to be, they're attacking it on purpose because they know that misaligning your chakras will destabilize you as a person. It'll literally like shut you down. And then this book that I have here, chapter 6 is the planets and the chakras. And I remember I was talking about how I wanted to talk about how, because in astrology there's 12 houses. Let me see if this will tell me if it's 12. There are 12 houses, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Yeah, there's 12 houses. And then each house represents a part of your life. So one house, astrological house, would be like your career, your family, your future, your love life, your family life, etc. And how each one correlates to a chakra. So in this book, it kind of looks at kind of like all the chakras. I don't know if it'll be able to show, but all the chakras and kind of like how they align to astrological signs. Let me see. Maybe what I might have to do, because this is a lot of reading, is I can maybe read just about one at a time. But some of it is really, really, really interesting. Like I'm just, and it talks about like from an emotional standpoint as well. I'll probably have to read this myself. Yeah, this, I would have to read this myself. But you need time in life. I can't do this now. This is a lot of reading. This is a lot of good reading though. I'm like reading little snippets of it. It's like really good. Um, I'm so happy that I got okay, see, look at this. Look at this. So this is about Uranus, and this represents compassion and symbolizes our sense of friendship, community, and identification with the collective. Uranus designates the compassionate nature of a person and describes how a person relates to others, community, and human welfare issues. Remember how I said every chakra kind of associates with, or sorry, every astrological house associates with a place in your life. So if somebody attacks, gang stalkers, they attack your sense of friendship, community, and identifying with a group, meaning they alienate you from a group. It talks about how a person relates to others, their community, and human welfare issues, hating everyone because you think everyone hates you. These are the kind of things that's why I haven't done that live yet, because I really want to like sit down and read and then really draw the correlation between what they are strategically, purposely, deliberately attacking, how that affects you. And then only I feel like by really drilling down and studying what they're attacking and why can you begin to say, well, how do I heal that? How do I make sure that doesn't happen again? You know, how do I put myself in a situation that, you know, because here's my thing with healing. It's so difficult, but it's so important for me to do because I have to enjoy life after this. If I don't heal this, if I try to move on and pretend like nothing happened, I'm literally going to have myself in a state where like I won't be able to accept love. I'm going to, you know, reject things that are for me. I'm going to sabotage things that are there to make me happy or are going to be a part of my new beginning. Like I have to heal it. I have to heal the way I respond to things. I have to not see everybody as a bad person. That's the difficulty, that those are the things that being gang stalked, like that's the real damage. You can go and buy another house, you can get more property, you can do this, you can do that. If you really are determined to do it, that's what you want. Like that's like things like that are actually easy because it's step by step. Healing yourself is a lot more difficult. Coming out and not being a shell of the person that you used to be is very difficult. It's very rough. And believe me, I am going through this right now on camera. I am going through this every time I come on here. I'm upset about things. I'm like reliving things by talking about it. I'm having to accept that it happened. I'm waiting for justice in my situation. I'm waiting for things to be made right. So it's like it's a very tough thing. At the same time, I have to rebuild. I have to take care of myself. Like a lot is going on at the same time. So like it's not I can every time I have to heal myself, I understand why people don't want to do it. Because every time it starts, it's easier to, and it starts on its own. Your body wants to purge it, so it starts by itself. You'll be having a good day and you listen to something, you hear something, you have to do something, it triggers a thought, and here it comes, it's bubbling up. And so you have to deal with it as it comes. And you're like, if I stuff it back down, then it's gonna stay there and it's gonna keep coming up all the time. If I deal with it, every single time it comes up, it's easier and easier. It's less and less it's less and less hard on me, because the first couple times it comes up, it's rough, it's hard on you. And then the more it comes up, the more you're kind of just like, it's not that it doesn't affect you, but you can work your way through it. You're not working through it from scratch. You're working through it emotionally and mentally, starting from the last place you were with it. So the last time you got upset about this issue, you determined that it kind of made sense to happen because of A. And then the second time it comes up, you're going back to that. You're starting that conversation, you're coming to A, and now you can get to B. And then, you know, the next time you're at A, B, and now C, and on until you get to a point where you're good with it. And some things are probably just going to be like, they're going to take years, but you just want to get to the point where you can cope well enough that As soon as it comes up, you're at A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you're so far ahead of it that you don't have to operate in it very long. You don't have to feel so reactive. You don't have to feel like, it's gonna be out of control. The response is gonna be out of control. And you don't have to feel like you have to hide from it. You don't have to run from it. You don't have to do anything externally to take care of it because you've internally taken care of it. It could be anything. You're gang stalked and people are talking about how tall you are. And they're repeating the same thing over and over because they're looking for low hanging fruit. They're looking for the thing that you're obviously insecure about. So they're going to continue talking about how short you are the entire time. And as they continue doing stuff like that, maybe outwardly you're like, it doesn't have an effect, but internally you're thinking about like, wait, people care about me being short. I mean, they're doing it on purpose. They probably don't care. They probably don't care, but they're only doing it because they're being paid. So you now have a complex about something people actually really don't care about, but now it's like a complex. If you don't heal that, moving forward, you're gonna go start doing things to compensate for being short. And then you're gonna have really volatile behaviors towards people that remind you that you're short. So if you face some sort of rejection, you've been conditioned to think, I'm being rejected by this woman, or I'm being rejected by this group of people, by this group of friends because I'm short. And so you're gonna continue abusing yourself after the external abuse is done. You're gonna continue, you've been now conditioned to abuse yourself every day. It takes away from the happiness that you're supposed to enjoy. It takes away from, the peace in life that you're supposed to have. So here you are, you're beating up on yourself, telling yourself that you're short. So now you're like, you know what? I might be short, but if I go out and make a lot of money, women are still gonna love me. People are gonna love me despite me being short. I'm gonna have a lot of money. And people might love you, but now you're sending out signals to the people that are the type of people to date people they don't like because there's a lot of money. Psychologically, somehow, I'm not gonna pretend to know how, you are now attracting people who don't like what you are, but like what you can offer. When you heal it, come to terms with it, you're okay with it, when you go out in the world, you just present as yourself. Not the short person, not the black person, not the tall person, not the short, like just yourself. And you have an attitude of self-acceptance and self-respect that is so radical that the only way someone is allowed to be in your orbit is if they accept exactly who you are. And who you are is not perfect. So some days you're going to have a good day, some days you're going to have a bad day. Even though you're trying to have good days, you want to be purposeful about it, but life happens. And they need to be able to ride those ebbs and flows with you. So they got to be good with who you are at your best, at your worst, and anywhere in between. And when you approach people with that attitude of, this is who I am and I like it, I don't mind you, but if you don't like it, there's no space here for you. You're not presenting anything else but yourself, because you do not need to identify with anything that you happen to have or that you happen to do or that you happen to be. You happen to be rich or you happen to not have money. Either way, you're still the same person. That doesn't even need to come up in a conversation about who you are, because that's not even who you are. Those things can change. You should not change when those things change. You are still yourself. Whether you have money, you have things, you're still you, and you still bring value. Your height doesn't define you. If you had a fast car, doesn't define, like, none of these things should make a difference to a person. This is not the person that they're going to be arguing with. They're not going to be arguing with the car. They're not going to be getting along with the car. They're not going to be, if it's a relationship, it's not the car that they're going to be sleeping in at night. So it's like, people have to just accept it as it is. That confidence, that self-assuredness, being sure of yourself, feeling good, feeling full. When you move into the world, People have to move out of your way because you're sending, you're emitting or almost a frequency that's saying you need to be up here to ride this ride. You need to like already mentally be this mature to be around me. Your reaction to someone saying that you're short is dismissal. It's not engaging, it's not arguing, it's not having any sort of emotional impact because you've already gone through all of that on your own. You're now so far out with that. You're at like Z. It's done, it's closed. You are a new person after having dealt with that. So when you see something that's from your past, you're like, are you kidding me? And now, instead of valuing the words of someone who's a complete stranger, who doesn't have enough knowledge of you to make an assessment on who you are anyway, you are now evaluating the person making the comment, their mental conditioning, their state, and realizing that there's no room in your life for people like that. That is how the trauma is supposed to heal you and move you forward. Or you heal yourself and move forward from it so you can still enjoy life. So that when you do meet someone who likes you, who doesn't really care if you're short or not, and they make a joke about you being short, you're not gonna flip out and you're not gonna get in your head and you're not gonna get insecure and you're not gonna have these reactions. You're gonna laugh about it as well. And it's gonna be a joke and your feelings are not gonna be hurt and you're gonna be moving on from it and you're gonna feel sure about the people that you let in because you know how they are. You know how to assess people moving forward. Otherwise, you're gonna go and repeat that cycle a second time. Now you're repeating the cycle. When you first did the cycle, you weren't even traumatized. Now you're repeating a cycle from a place of trauma. This is going to be an even tougher cycle. We're compounding abuse on top of unhealed wounds. This is a place you do not want to. When you talk about fearing things, that is what you want to fear. Imagine repeating gang stalking without having healed or really learning from gang stalking. You'd be afraid to do that because now you know what it is and you know how it's affected you and you haven't gotten over it. You want to get to the point with it, not just gang stalking, but life in general. You want to get to the point with things where if you had to repeat this cycle again, you have a process in place for everything that's coming at you. So all you're doing is re-implementing, blocking this, blocking that, and you keep finding fixes. Like, for example, one of my things was whenever I do a live, gang stalkers would come in my live and they would distract me by making comments and doing all this stuff. Now I'm just like, no chat, that's it. Easy fixes that just bring peace to your world. Every time you encounter a problem, you just have to start looking for solutions, start healing it. Anytime something starts happening with you, you heal it right away. Oh, I'm gaining weight, take care of it. Excuse me, oh, I'm not getting enough sleep, take care of it. I'm not doing this, take care of it. Whatever it is, take care of it right away. It becomes a real issue when you've let it get out of hand. You let people pass your boundaries for so long. You let people do this. You let this happen. Now it becomes a situation where it's crazy. You gotta just cut it clean right away. And sometimes there are people who don't understand boundaries. You gotta be even more firm with those people so they understand right away that you're not repeating yourself, that this is what it is. And close that door and mean it. And close it in such a... Some doors you can gently like close. And some doors you need to slam in people's face. Very hard. Gang stalkers will teach you that. You have to be very firm. You know, with me, in my situation, it's like people need to understand that this is not going to happen. It's just not, whatever they want is not going to happen no matter what they do. And it's just almost disabusing somebody of that thought that they can control me or my life experience. I'm going to control it. And when I know a door is closed when there's absolutely nothing they can do about it. There's nothing they can do about it. So that's really where you want to get yourself with things. Anyway, with this thing with how you identify with the community, something came up and I was looking at it. It was talking about the heart chakra, and it was saying that the heart chakra is where we identify with others with a bond of kinship or brothership, or brotherhood, sorry. It is our sense of humanity, and it is what inspires us to join common causes that benefit the community, relieve suffering, or counter injustices. The opening of the heart chakra is about extending the sense of friendship out to embrace and encompass the whole world. In truth, all people are kin. A true friend is always willing to forgive and to be a good neighbor. A true friend is ever helpful and ever volunteering to aid and teach others what they may have difficulty learning. Uranus teaches lessons or sorry, Uranus lessons teach us never to compromise the ideals of the heart in order to access the inner strength that comes from staying true to what is truly righteous and the discovery of what true community and friendship really mean. See, I have to actually sit down and like read this book. There's an aspect of the heart chakra that is eternally connected to the divine and is called in yogic philosophy the Hirik Pardma, or the heart cave, or the seat of the soul. The flame of the divine is given to every individual and kept alive in the heart's cave. In the heart, heaven and earth can meet and become one. It is through manifesting the divine qualities of the heart in the individual that heaven becomes manifest on earth. The opening of the heart chakra is allowing the flame of the divine to guide our actions and relationships, consequently making personal and intimate connection with the divine. This is so crazy that I found this passage because I will tell you a little about my journey. And my journey has been self discovery the entire time. I talk about that in another live. So, I have not necessarily been treated poorly in relationships. I cannot say that. But I can say that I have not been fulfilled. I have not been seen, and I have not been understood. So, what that looks like is a situation where there's a person who is a good person, does what they think that they should do for you as a woman in a relationship, but they can only love you the best that they can, and they have their own issues as well. And so that's not great. And so it's like maybe a mismatch. And, so sometimes you find yourself protecting yourself in a situation with people like that. And so though you haven't been mistreated, necessarily, like I've had bad relationships with like cheating and stuff like that, and I vowed like never to go to that. But that's not the issue. I'm talking about a fairly mature relationship, but it doesn't open your heart up because, people need to see you for who you are. Like when people say, I feel seen, everybody sits back and you know who you are inside for the most part. Some of us, like, we're still learning us, but like, you know who you are. And there's always a part of us, or a degree to which we're all misunderstood because people just look at you from face value. They don't see your heart, they don't see your soul, they don't see all of that. Now, though we work hard to hide it, we very much appreciate when people see it. So, I live in a city where from the time I opened my business, these people have been trying to recruit me to be a drug mule in different ways. And the gang stalking was where they got really aggressive, but they've been always trying. So I've become accustomed to shielding myself from customers. I used to have very like urban customers, like think of girls who aspire to be like rapper girlfriends, girls who are probably escorts and the otherwise. They're in that drug lifestyle, okay? At the time, I didn't care. I was trying to build my life, so I was like, I wasn't happy with it because I came from corporate and it wasn't my crowd, and I was embarrassed of it. That's the truth. I was embarrassed. I wouldn't tell what I would call decent people necessarily what my business did. So I wouldn't want to tell people about my business because it's like, I'm talking to like a soccer mom at my kid's school, and she's like, "Oh my God, what do you do? Oh, let me come. I'm gonna come to your business." And I'm like, "No, no, you probably don't want to do that. I don't sell anything for you." So it was, I was embarrassed of it, and it felt like something that I had to hide, but it was paying my bills and it was providing me a fairly good lifestyle. I worked very hard and I figured out how to do it and how to do it really well. And these people make fast money, so they don't have like money, they don't have a need to have good money management. So they will buy clothes every weekend. They need a new outfit all the time. Like, it was perfect. It's like, oh my God, they don't care. They'll just spend. However, however, I've lost my train of thought with what I was saying. Oh yeah, the relationships where I didn't feel seen. So when I did get a relationship where I felt seen, my heart opened up in a way that I didn't know that it could, because I finally felt loved in the way that I deserve to be. Or, yeah, deserve to be too, but like the way that I wanted, the way that I wanted. So the thing about that is you don't 100% know what you want. You think you do. If you had to figure it out, it would take more than one lifetime to figure out what's ideal for yourself, because you don't know all the things that you need. You don't know that, well, you actually like this and you actually like that and you actually need this, and you know what, I like that, I'm going to keep that. Like, you just think about maybe surface level things, but you don't see the bigger impact of that other things have. So it's kind of like, to give an example, and this is not necessarily me, but I'm just trying to give a generic example. If you grew up in an environment that wasn't physically affectionate, you would think that because you've adapted yourself to deal with that, you would think that that is not a big deal. So you'll be like, well, it doesn't matter. As long as this person, blah, 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 then, you know, we don't need words to express, blah, 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 that we care about each other, da, da, da. But the thing is, when you get in a relationship with somebody who does express themselves verbally and who is physically affectionate and who does think it's a priority to constantly express it, you find yourself in a very soft space. And at first you try to fight it and you're like, I don't need this, I don't need this. And eventually you settle into it, and then it disturbs you if it doesn't happen. You're like, wait, you didn't kiss me goodbye this morning, or you didn't say goodnight, or you didn't whatever. So this is what I mean. You don't 100% know what it is that you need until you get it. And then it breaks you down, and then you settle into it, and then not having it becomes an issue for you. It shakes you up. So now it's a part of the standards that you have for yourself moving forward, because now you know what you like. Anyway, when you're in those environments and your heart opens up, that's what they, the chakra that they talk about is your heart chakra. It has the type of love it takes to open up your heart chakra is not just being in love or somebody loving you. No. It is love that is unconditional, that feels like the way God loves you. It's love that, it's transformative love. So it's a love where you feel like, almost like someone loves you like a parent, and they love you almost like, I can't even explain it, but just like a whole bunch of different, it just provides everything. It's robust, it's full, it's complete. It doesn't have a lot of gaps. And that's not saying that the person's perfect, you're perfect, any of that. But once you can open it up enough to feel unconditional love, love that is not dependent on any other factors other than the energy inside of this person is what you like. The soul inside of them, the spirit is inside of them. And you probably like this so much because you can identify with it. There's some part of that that you identify with, that you feel like represents some part of you, or some part that you want to have, or some part that you feel like you should have but you don't yet have. Something like that. And anyway, it allows you, the first time you feel it and the longer you stay in it, it allows you, you see how it allows you to operate as the best version of yourself. It changes your perception of reality because you realize that this is how you want to live every day. And that living like this took away or takes away the desire for other things that you've been told your whole life that you need. So in these kind of scenarios, you are happy irregardless of things that you were normally aspiring to. So you might want a certain job with a certain position, with a certain title. You might want this amount of money or 3.5 kids with a white picket fence. Not to say that you're still not going to want that, because if you have a partner that you care about, you're going to want that, right? But like with this partner, it's not going to be a deal breaker if they don't have the house, or they don't, or you guys are in some other an apartment instead of a big house, or like, like whatever it is. It's like the comfort comes from their energy. It doesn't come from how tall they are, how short they are, like whatever they have, or it comes from their energy. It's the spiritual engagement that is so fulfilling. It's not necessarily like everything around it. You feel at peace, you feel safe. Once you've experienced that, you've experienced the love of God. That kind of love is a gift from God. That kind of compatibility would take lifetimes to find. To find someone, and it doesn't always have to be romantic. It could be a child, it could be whatever, but I think most times this, and I think this does happen for people with children as well. I feel like there's particular women that really, really love kids, and maybe they, side note, my cat sleeps all day, and we always say we have to wake her up because she's gonna tear this house apart every single night. All they do is chase each other all over the place. It is so late, and the cat just stretched and yawned, and I'm so terrified of what she's gonna do later on. Anyway, what was I saying? That love is that kind of love is a gift. But I was talking about women. Like I noticed this too, and I have noticed this in the past, where women who maybe had trouble conceiving, or just wanted to adopt kids, or maybe women that love kids, they find that love in their children. That it's like the children open their heart up, where they just like, they have this crazy bond with their kids. So it's not necessarily like a bond that you always have in a relationship, but whenever the love is so unconditional, and then the qualities that the other person has kind of like complements you as well, I feel like that's like a deeper bond. And I really feel like that's what it feels like when you, I don't feel like, I know for a fact, once you experience this, then you're ready to meet God, and you're ready to connect to God. Once you experience this kind of love, you are ready to finally open up to God loving you close up, not from afar. I mean, like, to make a space inside of you for God because your heart is open. When you experience love like this, you like love humanity. Listen, it's like the kind of thing where, I'll tell you, I probably shouldn't talk about this, but it's healing, I think, to talk about. It's the kind of love where it's like months later and you're like, something is weird, something is off here, because I feel like it's a normal cycle to be fighting by now, or to have issues by now, or to like, why is this not happening? This is so weird. And then it makes you happy throughout your entire day. Like, a meditation to calm you down is going to give you a couple hours. When you're in love, you get the whole day. The whole day. You get the whole day happy. Everything moves better. Problems don't exist. Problems don't. And if you do get something that frustrates you, it is not worth, whatever the problem is not worth upsetting you. So you're like, whatever this is, I'm going to have to hurry up and deal with it, because I would like to go back to like enjoying my day, enjoying my life. Life is beautiful regardless of what is going on around you. That is also how you have to, that is also how it feels when you are absolutely 100% sure that God loves you, because you feel it every day. So you just move around in the world in a different way than other people. Like maybe other people might, Olive, do you want to go outside? My God, I hate getting up on camera. Olive, why? Can you wait? Come, come, come here. Come. Oh my God, she's so tiny. Um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, when you feel like God really loves you, and I very much feel like that. Like sometimes I feel selfish about God. Sometimes I feel selfish about God as if like I'm the only person God loves. And I know that's not true. And I know that's not realistic, but I still feel like that. That is just how loved I feel. And I feel like if there are other people, then it's not that they're not more important, but I just feel like I just know I feel secure in where I stand with God. And the love that I have with God, that I share with God, although it feels like a love between a parent and a child, I just still feel, I feel so full. I feel so complete. So when I move throughout the world, I don't really move around the world in a way like where I'm expecting things to go bad, or like where, I don't know, I expect things to go my way. Not not in like a spoiled way, not in like a bratty way, not in like a way where I feel like I should be treated better than anybody else, but I definitely don't expect to be treated poorly. I think that I just shouldn't have problems. I feel like things should just work out. And because I feel like that, I feel like life usually just works out like that. And because I feel like God loves me so much, I just don't, it's like I feel like everybody else should treat me with the same respect and the same love. Because if God of all people treats me with a whole bunch of sensitivity and respect, then there is absolutely nobody that can get away with not doing that. I just expect that. I also treat people very well, but not everybody. Some people I just don't feel like they deserve to interact with me because of who they are and how they behave. And I'm okay with that. I don't hate them. I don't have to have issues with them. It's just that we are in different places and they cannot meet me where I need them to meet me. So this extends to every single relationship. This could be if I go somewhere. Listen, I'm the kind of person, if I go to the bank and the teller is being very passive aggressive and rude, I'm going to first ask them, like, are you okay? Is everything okay? Can we move forward where we're not having a difficult experience? If that cannot happen, I will shut down during the transaction. I will stop it. I will either get back in line and wait for someone else, or I'm just not going to deal with that person. It's that serious for me. I just do not put up with nonsense at all, and people know that. It's difficult to gang stalk me because how are you going to get close to gaslight someone who's so serious about not being spoken to in a derogatory way? You have to be fake, and it's only going to last so long because part of the job is to gaslight, and you know I'm going to cut you off. You already know right now as we interact that I'm not even attached to you. You can feel it. With me it's energetic, and I realize I communicate in an energetic way. I've been very good at this before knowing that I was good at this. You know when we're done. I don't have to tell you. I don't have to be rude. I don't have to like fight with you. You can tell in my very polite conversation that you will never speak to me ever again. And people know it. They know the exact moment that I was never going to call them again. You can also tell when I'm being polite, but I have no sort of, you're still not gonna, I have no issues. We're not arguing. You did nothing wrong. I'm not attached. So I'm very kind, but also you're never gonna speak to me again. This is a one time thing. I'm just being nice. You can tell there's like different flavors of how I communicate in my body language that you can tell where we stand. People are able to tell this with me, gang stalkers, and so there are people who communicate with me and they never try to communicate with me again because they figured that I know who they are, I know what they're about, and they realize that by interacting with me, they expose themselves. Because I know, I'm gonna know. I communicate a lot non I don't know if it's non-verbally, because maybe the non-verbal communication that I'm putting out is not necessarily saying it, but it's like maybe I communicate psychically with people. But you know where you stand with me. And if you don't know, then I don't know. Maybe that there are a lot of people I think that don't know either. They're not really sure where they stand with me. They're not really sure like if they could they approach. There are people who are hopeful. What they're feeling is hope, whether or not they're feeling hope that they should try. Um, but I think there are also people that know, like, I feel hope and there's a chance of success. And there are people that are like, I feel hope and this is going to blow up in my face for sure. For sure, she doesn't like me. And it's like, I'm not, I'm not saying I don't like people because I've treated them poorly. That's not in me. I don't do that. I'm saying that I don't like you because of my vibe, because my aura is just like, it's like I'm not open to you. I'm smiling and making eye contact, but I don't care for you. I don't know. I don't know how it is that I do that. I don't know how people know this, but they know. They know. Which I'm grateful for, because it takes energy to verbally tell people, please stay away from me. I am not interested. Because that's exactly how I'm going to say it. I am not interested. And it's like, because it's so calm, sometimes people don't take it. People who have issues with boundaries, they don't take that seriously. They're like, oh, she doesn't mean that. She was nice. But you just, it's like, that's where you go down the path you don't want to go. You don't want to go there, because I'm very straightforward and very honest. I mean the things that I say. So it's like, anyway, the point I'm making is, if you can open your heart to feel unconditional love, if you can continue all the time on this journey moving forward, to take your vibration that's constantly like going like this all the time as you're moving, like let's say it's like one of those old trains that had like the open compartments where they just throw like stacks of things on it, or like machinery, tractors, whatever. Just say that is moving, that's your life, but it's rocking. And so your emotions, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're heavy, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's difficult, and they're swaying. If you can kind of get it to be more stable and stay in the middle, where you can sort of responsibly vibrate out of love, universal love, divine love, unconditional love, which is different from the other kinds of love, then you can be in a position where almost like you can empower the divine, the Holy Spirit, God, to drive the train for you. The life experience becomes easier. Everything, this is where you find peace, and this is where you find happiness. And why do I say that? Because you have no room for people who do not belong there. So when you are choosing the right people, the likelihood of the emotions going like this, it's less. The right people give the right sort of, they're on the same wavelength as you, so it's more environments of peace than environments of conflict and chaos. Then you start choosing the right opportunities. You start choosing the right, the right ways of taking care of yourself, the right foods to eat, the right, just everything moving forward. It's like you're making better decisions because you're operating out of place of peace. It's creating out of a place of unconditional love, which means that if you're putting that out, that's what you're getting back in return. You have like harmony and tranquility throughout your day. you know it's a completely different life experience than just doing whatever it takes to make money, doing whatever it takes to get by, constantly having to change yourself to fit in with different people, to keep people happy, etc., etc. You need people that are happy with you the way you are and the way you want to be, and people that also give you the space to be who you want to be when you want to be, because you're going to also change as well. This is one change. You're going to continue having changes in your life. You're going to continue having to evolve. So you want people that can grow with you. You want people that are going to give you room to be yourself, to have your moments, etc., etc. Not people that are going to be heavy, are going to be needy, are going to be draining, or you always need energy to deal with them. You can't continue on your path. These are the kind of energies that like gang stalking purposely like drains you with these kinds of behaviors. So these are the kind of things that you really have to learn the lesson to like move away from. Your past cannot come with you. It must stay exactly where it is, or it could stay wherever it wants to stay. It just can't stay with you. You have to move forward, and you have to learn to not make things as difficult. Don't make things more difficult than they need to be. Everything could be very simple. You make a decision, you decide to move forward, you brace for the way people are going to impact with the change, you move forward, and then you continue. Simple. Easy, 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 easy. I don't want to be your friend anymore. Why? But it doesn't matter why. I just don't want to do it. I give myself room to say I don't I don't want to have that conversation, because sometimes I feel like people know they're draining, they know they're this, they know they're that. And sometimes, you know what, be it bad or good, maybe it's selfish. People are allowed to judge me if it's selfish, if it's no good, but sometimes I'm like, the reason why it's internal. It's an internal decision. I just, cuz it might not be valid. With me it might not be valid. Sometimes it's like I don't want to be your friend cuz you need me too much. I can't be there for you as much. I don't derive as much enjoyment from you that I think it's worthy to put this energy here. And I'm a person who likes, like, I'm a hermit. I like to be in my house. So I like what's in the house. Like, I could deal with the house. I don't want to deal with things outside of the house. That might not be a valid reason for someone. Telling someone that is just gonna lead to like arguments, and maybe I don't want to do the argument. Maybe I have low energy and I don't want to do it. So that might create a conflict. But I feel like the fact that I'm sitting someone down and saying, hey, I feel like I don't want to do this anymore, this is tiring, is better than ghosting, hopefully. But I just choose better people so I don't have to have these conversations. If it doesn't work out of after the trial period, the first interaction, the first stupid thing that you said, then it doesn't work. No sweat. We don't have to do this. No one's forcing us. It didn't work. That's it. This is the reason why that they've had a lot of trouble in my city with recruiting me, because it's like it's misaligned, it's mismatched. I know you're my customer, but we're not gonna, I don't listen to this music, I don't go partying, I'm not this type of person, I don't care about this stuff. I'm very bored with the things that they're talking about. I don't care about like celebrity gossip. I don't care about hair and makeup. I don't care about any of this. They're not talking about the stuff that I care about. So it's like, it's not going to work. Are we just forcing it? And so then it's like failed drug recruitment right there, because they couldn't love bomb. They couldn't be friends. They don't like me. They feel that I'm weird, that I'm different. I think that they're boring or whatever. I think, who cares? Sometimes I'm not even thinking about it that much. I didn't even give it that much thought. It just didn't feel good, or I just didn't care, but you have to approach the world in a very selfish way, unfortunately. And this is something that you need to learn. Fortunately, not unfortunately, this is something that you need to learn moving forward, is to just be selfish about everything. It's all about you in the beginning. Does it work for you? Does it make you feel good? Blah, blah, blah. It is about you. That is your assessment. And why can you be like that? Because, well, I'll talk for myself. Why can I be like that? Because I offer a lot. I bring a lot into people's lives. I bring protection, I bring good luck, I bring a lot of love, I bring a lot of nurturing, I bring a lot of happiness, I bring a lot of peace. I'm low energy. It is easy to deal with me. I'm not saying I'm not a snob about certain things. Like, there's certain things that like, whatever they are, there's certain things that are a big deal to me, but I'm not really one of those people who's like high maintenance. I'm very peaceful. So I need to assess for me if it works, because I have no doubt that I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be a source of happiness in someone's life, because I'm like that. I value myself a lot. I do, very highly. So a lot of energies that come to take, or come to deplete, or come to make sick, or da da, doesn't work, doesn't work, doesn't work, doesn't work. And like, just unapologetic about it. Like, people in my city talk a lot about how like I'm a loner. I'm sure they've said things like she doesn't have friends and this and that. It's like, yeah, I don't. I don't, I'm good. Like, so it's like, I don't know, what do you say after that? I don't have friends, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then that's the conversation, that's the end of it. Like, so what? Who cares? You know, and that's like with everything else about me. It's very, I just feel like, so what? Who cares? I don't really care. The only reason they're bringing it up is because they're bothered that they can't get close to me. That's all. They shouldn't care. That's it. That's it. That's the end of the conversation. Um, you have to love yourself so much that you want to be the best version of yourself. You want to come from a place where it's not arrogance, but it's just very much self love, and it's very much making sure that, especially if people have already showed you who they are, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit, and that's okay. That's fine. But it doesn't fit. You can't force it to fit. If an emotion makes you unhappy and it feels draining for you to have, then you got to get rid of it, because you don't want to be the draining person to someone else. You don't want to bring that baggage either. I mean, everybody's going to have something within reason. We're human beings, right? But like, there's some people, it's like overboard. It's like they're super needy. They're always calling. They always need something. They always have a problem. It's like this lack of peace within them. And you don't want to be the person that is constantly telling people the reason why you're overbearing. Well, when I was a kid, this happened, and when I was, it's like, some point you got to open it up and you got to deal with it. And it's okay to, for me, it's okay with people who are dealing with something. I'm dealing with something right now, and you know, it's upsetting me and whatever. Fine, you know, you can have your time, but there's some people who've been marinating in that for like 60 years. They've had an issue with like something, and it's like they're using that as an excuse to treat people poorly. That is the kind of like stuff that I just, like, I feel like I don't want to deal with. So, you know, I'm just sharing kind of my process with healing, my process with putting myself together again as life tries to tear me apart. Sometimes that's how it feels. That's what gang stalking felt like. I know that's really not, life wasn't trying to tear me apart, but that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. But just constantly putting myself back together, not even waiting for situations to conclude, to be done, but starting to say, like, how do I address this? Because it's in the healing, it's in the process of healing that you fix the problem. We've been able in the past to get rid of problems without fixing them, and then neglecting the fixing later, and that is not happening moving forward. She's gonna tear this place apart. Oh my God. Olive, come. Go. Go. Olive, come. Come, come, come. Come. You can leave now. Come, you can go. You can go. Insists on sleeping in my room, and then, oh my God. Insists. From the time I got this cat, she chooses where she sleeps, and she's insistent about it until you figure it out and you make her comfortable in that space. She is stubborn, and she does not want to accept no for an answer, which is okay. But she chose her spot, and now every time I go live, she waits till I'm live, and then she wants me to like get up and open the door. Like, anyway, I think I'm gonna leave it here. I don't have much more to say. Thank you to whoever hung in here to listen to me. I wish I could be this calm every day I come on here. Some days I'm like, some days I'm dealing with internal things that are not fun, but that do need to be dealt with. Either way, I don't want to bury them. So this is a process of healing. If people are like watching and they're judging, that is totally fine. You should maybe take example from me to either be like me or not be like me, but this is authentic. This is really happening. And if you've ever truly been gang stalked, honestly, I think I'm doing a great job compared to the things that I have and continue to experience all the time. But anyways, thank you and have a great night.